Hey, good people. I hope you're keeping very well. This is getting fun and more fun every other day. Like I told you, there's plenty more well that came from. Now, hey, this is Doreen, and this is Heal with Doreen. I'm so happy that you're part of this community. I'm so happy that you're in this space where we are breaking taboos, where we are reviving the goodness of our humanity, where we are reviving African sensuality together. It's an innate beauty that has been sort of like denied of us, especially women. Then as well, men knowing how to be able to come together and bridge the orgasm gap on the African continent. So I'm happy to do this with you, and I've been doing this in different ways. But hey, I'm running a series called Own Your Pleasure. And I am talking to the women first, asking you this year, if you're mindful enough and you want to be intentional, these are some of the things that you can focus on to be able to own your pleasure. And I'm also calling you out to join my conscious communities, spaces where we are intentionally healing together, breaking taboos, getting vulnerable, making sure that we can focus on your individual story, understand what happened to you, what didn't happen for us, being able to hold each other's hands so that we can learn the skills that we didn't learn that would required for us to be able to, traverse and navigate this life thriving through it as opposed to continue surviving. We are surviving in the workplaces, we are surviving in different aspects, but imagine we are also surviving, in sexual encounters and experiences. Shouldn't be, when it comes to experiencing pleasure, you would expect that you want, you get. We have just found that there's lots of blocks and hindrances. And so if we get to remove one at a time together, I'm very sure it will feel like such a beautiful place to be at. This earth. So here we go. I have already discussed with you about five things that you can do. In the last podcast, I gave you three. Learn how to, build a value system so you can be able to know how to express your needs, so you can put up with the discomfort of setting boundaries and getting into your body so that you can create intuitive embodiment. Ultimately walking around saying, and instead of asking, what do they want from me? Ultimately instead of walking around wondering, who is desiring you. Ultimately, instead of walking around staying in your head and expecting that your desirability is externally sourced, instead of asking, what do they want from me? You learn to ask, what do I want from them? And I hope that's what you picked out. So in this next podcast, I'm going to discuss 3 things that you can also do this year to be able to own your pleasure. And today, in this podcast, I want to teach you, or rather talk to you about the other thing that didn't happen for us, what we didn't learn. We did not learn how to really engage in our own sexual experience so that we can own the pleasure. In our society, girls are continuing to be, girls are continuing to be told that their arousal is dependent on somebody else, that their arousal is dependent or is externally sourced or is dependent on their partner, and women as well. So if he's not doing it, then it ain't happening. And it's a sad state of affairs, right? There's no concrete sex education. There's no evidence-based sex education that is happening in schools, in homes, that is teaching young girls really how to be able to understand their bodies, to understand the wisdom of their bodies. Because without that, I'm going to tell you the block that we have now. So we now have an all or nothing attitude when it comes to sexual engagement and sexual satisfaction. So we have a subtext underlying that notion of, if your arousal is externally sourced, meaning if I get a guy that is good, he has a good penis, he knows how to touch a woman, he knows how to understand everything about a woman, so definitely he's skilled in lovemaking. That's the kind of guy I'm looking for. That's a fantasy. When you get off that high horse and you start walking, you'll not find that guy. Because there's no way anyone is going to come and conduct your orchestra. You have to be the orchestrator of your own orchestra, or rather your own arousal. I'm going to tell you why and how. Now, because we've not taught girls, or there's not enough messaging for girls to be able to understand their bodies, therefore also they don't understand sensations and how they lead to their arousal, right? So we still have women who don't understand what sensations feel like, what sensations mean, and how they are connected to lust, to love, how they are connected to, even a lack of it. We still have women who don't understand how sensory and physical, experiences in their bodies and how they are connected to either lust or to joy. We don't even know, or we've not sat enough with joy. We've not been given or taught enough experiences that allow us to sit with pleasure, with joy for quite a long time, that we like most women run away from experiences of joy, and that in itself takes us away from connecting with our bodies and orchestrating our bodies, like being able to know I can combine this and that. I can have a blended orgasm. Or when he touches my hair and spanks my ass and then touches my nipple, this is how I should feel and this is what I say I want. Or I need you to pull at my hair, I need you to choke me a bit, and I need you to penetrate me while you're doing that. You see, if you don't understand your body, you will not understand how to connect the different sections of your orchestra. Right? So I have an example of, or rather, even when I lead young girls going through puberty, I teach them about body positivity. I teach them about period positivity. I talk to them about cycling and psychosyncing, and the goal is for them to master their bodies. Again, I draw this from my culture experience. I got this beauty and this knowledge that I took it for granted. Growing up, I was taught about herbs. I was taught about my vagina. I was taught about my femininity. I was taught about the energies and sensations to experience from the vagina. Now, when I heal my vagina, when I'm given, when I'm taught herbs that deal with the different sensations that I experience in my vagina, I'm also able to experience the opposite. For instance, if I tell my auntie that I feel sensation down in my vagina when I'm peeing, and then she tells me, oh, when you feel that, you need to be able to drink stinging nettle. You need to be able to drink, you need to be able to drink some raspberry leaf. When you feel that, you need to be able to drink some kaseke. There are herbs that locally are called, that they heal different parts. As an auntie would be able to ask you what the sensations are. If the sensations are around the ovaries or in the uterus, or they are down in the vagina, she would just ask you, where do you feel the pain? And so when I'm taking the little girls, I make them connect with their wombs and tell them where the tubes are. Using just this method, I tell them where the tubes are, where the ovaries are, where the uterus is, and then so when they feel sensations that are uncomfortable, they can be able to communicate, mommy, when I am about to bleed, or when I'm on my luteal phase, or when I'm doing this, I feel a tingling sensation, a painful sensation, but when I'm urinating, I feel this sensation. That was so empowering for me, because even just a tip, even just when I'm about, even when just a bit of blood is about to flow from my vagina, even when my cervix is opening, I know it, I can feel it. I'm not able to get surprises. Because even when I would communicate those sensations and get to be taught which herbs to use to reduce them, or how to touch myself, I was taught about essential oils that I get to use to massage my womb when 2 weeks to my period, so that I don't get the discomforts that I would talk about if I said, but why is it, because I would come back from school and I'd ask my auntie, but why is it I feel heaviness and then uncomfortable, then why is it I feel so uncomfortable when I'm going to poop, poop a few days before my periods come, and so she would tell me that's connected to your period, but this is what you can do to be able to alleviate the discomfort. And it would make me feel good. I would stop hating the sensation. I would just know, oh, when that comes, it means my period is about to come. And later when I grew, then I started being told that, oh, progesterone levels are dropping, and so that means you might get a bit of constipation, but that's normal, it will fade, but then you could be able to massage your womb and you feel comfortable. I started learning about essential oils that alleviate discomfort a few weeks before periods. So I have urgency. I am able to reduce the language that comes with a pain or discomfort that comes around my menses, and that knowledge I continue to guide the little ones through it. And I'll also tell you the same thing when I'm talking to my son about puberty. My son is now 14 years. He's about to turn 15. And yes, when I sat with him during this holiday and we were talking about pornography, masturbation, and body connection, why boys masturbate. Most of the times they masturbate because they want to connect to their bodies. Why boys, watch pornography, the dangers of pornography, or what should happen actually when they get the sensation to connect with themselves. I was talking to them about space taking when boys want to be in their rooms, and instead of knowing what they're needing, instead they watch pornography, but really they're looking for connection, to connect to their bodies so that they can be able to understand their sexual bodies, understand sensations, understand, how different parts feel, and therefore remove the negativity of it so that I can guide him into the positivity of it. Consequently, I and my son got to understand that you can feel sexual desire, but what does sexual desire mean? And instead of making him think that he needs to be able to, jerk off, he should understand that it actually is his creative energy. When you feel that, it means now there's creative energy flowing through you. It's the energy that you need to be able to focus at school, to create, to have energy. So when you connect to that energy, when you feel a sense of connection, you get to connect to that energy because it's the energy that makes you thrive, makes you happy, makes you joyful. And I could see him excited. It's like, oh, as opposed to him thinking, now with this energy, I need to be able to jack off. So I need to watch pornography, or I need to watch pornography so I can be able to, understand my sexuality and things like that. There's just not enough education, for women as well to understand their bodies. I'll give you another example. I met a friend online and he told me that he gets so uncomfortable when he's dating and he meets this girl that tells him that for her she wants to squat. And he told me, Doreen, I can't do that. I don't go down on a girl. I'm a king. I don't lower myself to licking a woman. That is how men have been emasculated. And I go, what? Because we're busy teaching women to own their pleasure, to get into their bodies, to learn to sense, to learn to express their desires, to learn to express their needs. Now here is a guy who's telling her, I don't go down on a girl. What do you do in such a scenario? And so I asked him, so what do you want her to do? He said she needs to know her body so well so that she can know how to experience vaginal orgasms. And I'm imagining if you met a man like that, remember you are the conductor of your orchestra. So if you met a man who is like that, do you say we are not a match? You could literally flip the script and say, okay, fine, with this kind of guy, he needs me to have vaginal knowledge. And because I know how to feel, to express, to desire from the vagina, I also can be able to roll with this kind of guy. On the other hand, I was so angry at him because as well, there's that disempowering messaging that men have that women cannot desire. That when a woman desires, she's emasculating a man. And that really is very painful because, like I always say, the mother wound affects both men and women. Patriarchy affects both men and women, because there's the masculine need to provide, to lead, but then sometimes it becomes, or it turns into manipulation, because where he does not want to hear her, she wants to express or experience her sexual desire, where she's able to ask and he does not want her to receive that. it has an undertone of a man who is still stuck in the old messaging of women cannot express their desires, or a woman can't have lust, or a woman can't say where she wants the music to happen or to take place, right? So because of that, I get to understand that we have a job. We still need to educate both girls and men about women's bodies and boys' bodies and men's bodies as well, and mostly how to own your pleasure. You cannot own your pleasure when you don't understand the nuances of your body and your bodily sensations. You know, you need to be able to understand or to connect with these sensations, because you see, if you don't understand them, then it becomes very hard for you to be able to own your arousal. So to own your arousal, this year, picture yourself at the head of the orchestra. You know, you're the conductor of this orchestra. There are different sections to the orchestra. There's the violin, there's the tenor, there's the percussion, and then there's there's the choir at the back, right? And so your job is to be able to understand how the different tonal, the different tones between a trombone and then the violin. You need to be able to understand when your chorus is dropping and rising. You need to be able to understand the overall effect of the percussion and everything else. You need to be able to understand the lingering effect of the whole music, to your experience, if you know what I mean. So you are like that. It means as a conductor, you're able to know, you need to be able to tune into your body so that you can know what to touch, what to conduct, which section to conduct, which section aligns with the other. Because if you do not get to know that, you continue to lead in a negative stance when it comes to your arousal. That's what I mean. It becomes honestly disproportionate a responsibility when we expect men to be the ones that decide whether we experience sexual satisfaction or whether we are aroused, And also it puts too much pressure on them. It makes them feel limited and disempowered when you're not able to get aroused. You know what I mean? And it makes them feel sort of like they're not the kings. They're not doing this very well. Yeah. So it's not fair that we put that amount of responsibility on somebody else to be able to orchestrate our arousal. It gets to have this subtext that it's either all or nothing. Either you can arouse me, and if you don't, then we are not a match. And look at how many relationships you get to lose because you're waiting for that guy who is skilled at lovemaking. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a guy knowing about a woman's sexuality, anything wrong with somebody else knowing about, being skilled at lovemaking. There are guys who it will just be an alignment. He comes and he can be able to tap into your body and he knows how to get you there. But many a times, I kid you not, I have the responsibility of knowing that personally, for me, if I'm to engage in any sexual experience with my partner, I orchestrate it like this, It has to start with me. I'm going to tell you about that. But also he gets to touch me here and he gets to touch me there. And when he's touching me here and here, so if I want to experience let's say a vaginal orgasm, I would like my nipples to be stimulated at the same time. If I'm to have sexual, if I'm to orgasm from the doggy style, I would like my clitoris to be stimulated at the same time and my nipples to be stimulated at the same time. I'd like my ears, or I'd like to hear him talk to me in my ears while he's stimulating my clitoris. Or when I am squatting or experiencing a squatting orgasm, I'd like his fingers to be able to stimulate my labia, my clitoris from inside the vagina and create a connection. So I'd like his fingers to be inside the vagina, the thumb to be clicking at the clitoris while one of his hands is stimulating my nipple. See, that sounds like the conductor of an orchestra, not so? So different women will tell you different things. Even when I'm talking about blended orgasms and what blends your orgasms, another woman will say, "I'd like for him to be stimulating my anus, with my nipples at the same time." Another woman will say, "I would like a toy inside my vagina while he is licking my clitoris." Another woman will say, so different women will say they want different experiences, and that means they are participating in their own sexual experience. So whether the music happens or it doesn't happen is not the problem. The music gets to happen because she's conducting the music. That takes us away from the idea that, that guy came, we spent the whole evening together, he touched me, but I wasn't able to orgasm. Such a waste of a night. That means the music didn't happen. But did you participate? Did you participate? Or were you waiting for some guy to walk in, to touch the tenor, the violin, to touch the percussion, and then to conduct the whole choir that is you? We need to stop that. Promise me that this year you're going to be the orchestrator. Just repeat after me. I am the orchestrator of my own arousal. So there are 3 things that you can do. I want to share with you to be able to be the orchestrator of your own arousal. 1, you need to learn to be cyclic. You need to improve your arousal mechanism. When your hormones are out of balance and your testosterone levels are out of balance, really your arousal mechanism is very low. So join me on the Hormone Reset program and learn really how to balance your hormones using seed cycling, how to balance your hormones using adaptogens, how to balance your hormones using different herbs, and learning how to incorporate this in your everyday diet, in your breakfast, in your lunch, in your dinner, so that it becomes a part of your lifestyle. Because the other thing is that our lifestyle does not have the needs that our bodies, rather the foods or the drinks or the herbs that our bodies need to maintain the arousal. So most of the times we are always thinking and remembering our arousal when it's broken down. Instead of fixing it, just walk with it. Let it be part of your pleasurable life, right? So the Hormone Reset program, we learn, the herbs and the teas. So one of the things that you can learn is if you can seed cycle, if you can align your cycle with seeds, or if you can make sure that the rhythm of your cycle is aligned. That way, your sex hormones are balanced along your cycle. Your estrogen levels are good during the follicular phase. Your progesterone and testosterone levels are good during the luteal phase. A woman who doesn't become cyclic has not tapped into her body wisdom. And if you don't tap into your body wisdom, you become these women. Many times when women are on their luteal phase, they say, "Doreen, I don't like that phase." 1, their immunity is low. They are more prone to infections. Then they have racing thoughts. They say they ruminate so much. They can't sleep because their thoughts, they can't have a hold on their thoughts. And it's just chaotic. Some of them start having really nightmares on their luteal phase. And some of them start developing what we call PMDD. And that is for me because the root cause, women have not learned how to embrace the luteal phase, the energy of the luteal phase. They've not been taught how to decode their periods. They've not been taught how to listen into the sensations and be able to play with what the sensations are bringing forth, because the sensations, the symptoms are never a problem. They are your love language, your body's love language. They're just always walking around bringing you messages for you to pick so that you can action and be in tune with your body, be embodied, right? So on the luteal phase, when they tell me that, I tell them that's not a bad thing. That's the phase when your intuitive levels are higher, and that means you need to tap more into journaling, into meditating, into breath work, so that you can be able to listen to the messages your soul is bringing to the surface for you to pick. Now you have chaos and confusion there because you don't know how to listen to those messages, and instead of taking them on as good messages, you are mourning them. You're hating them. You're taking painkillers to alleviate them. You have been put on contraceptives to alleviate them. You've not been taught really how to read into them, how to harness them, how to listen to them. And that's one of the reasons why you really need to join us in our conscious community, so that we can get embodied again. We can learn the sensations of our bodies, the language of our bodies, decode our emotions, our periods, so that they can become peaceful, beautiful things that we welcome and celebrate, as opposed to moments that we mourn and we hate. So one, becomes cyclic. Learn how to balance your hormones. Learn how to use adaptogens. Adaptogens are herbs that help you to adapt to stressors. Because also on the luteal phase, the reason why most women have low immunity is when they did not reduce on any stress hormones during the follicular phase, when the liver is most active, detoxing out excess hormones, so they have an overload or a crossover of those stress hormones into the luteal phase. Also, some women do not know how to eat on the luteal phase. I hear them say they are on intermittent fasting, and I'm like, yes, it's okay to do intermittent fasting, but it's really wrong to fast on your luteal phase. On your luteal phase is when you need energy. Your masculine energy is higher. On the luteal phase is when you need to feed testosterone. You need more complex starch or complex carbohydrates. So now if you're fasting on that phase, you're going to really have so much low energy on when your period comes, and it's going to drain you and bring you wrong sensations. But the sensations would be that, hey, you are not feeding the body with the right foods that support testosterone. You're not eating complex proteins, or branched chain amino acids are not getting into your body that testosterone needs to be healthy for you. So you're confused as well because you don't know how to use your voice. On the luteal phase, testosterone is your expressive energy. Rather, your masculine energy is higher, so you want to be more expressive, you want to be more opinionated, you want to express yourself. But when women find themselves, not being able to speak or talk, that those sensations would be showing you that you're imbalanced, both energetically, spiritually, and hormonally. So getting to know your body helps you to get into becoming better at conducting your own orchestra. Number 2, use sensuality. Use sensuality to be able to arouse your body. When you can be able to create sensuality in yourself or in your life, it means you are also participating in your sexual experience. If I wake up in the morning and I meditate. Meditation allows me to connect with my body, because through meditation, especially personally, I like energy meditation or guided meditation that allows me to do breath work. If I do breath work, breaths are like little love notes for the body. So if I can do breath work in the morning, I'm sort of like stimulating my intuition, but also creating sensation on the inside, creating interoception. Breathwork allows me to like stimulate my sexual energy, because when I do breathwork, I connect my breathwork with my Kegels, so I'm able to stimulate my sexual energy. That gives me the aliveness that I need the rest of the day, and by the time I get home, I have energy, I am aroused, I am good to arouse, I'm good to go. So if you can use sensuality is being able to play with senses. What do you say to yourself? Can you affirm to yourself every morning, or halfway in the day? The things you say to yourself are the sounds you hear in your head. So if you don't say good things, you are part of the bad music that plays for you, right? It's not about waiting for somebody to say good things to you. It's about you beginning by saying good things to yourself, seeing the good in you. So if I have my values written and put on my vision board, I've put it in a place that I pass most of the time, I could be able to just see any of the values, validate myself, and then I don't need to depend on somebody else to validate me. So, sensuality includes what you hear, what you tell yourself, but also what you play around you. It includes what you smell. And for me, I know smell is one of the things that builds memory. It's one of the things that connects us deeply to our inner senses. So I play a lot with smells. I use smells in the bathroom when I'm doing dry brushing. I have different blends for the bathroom, for the bedroom, for the sitting room. I would just like to be able to connect with my body through sense, rather through smell. And I know I use essential oils. I use less of perfume, because perfume kills the capacity to, to connect with your limbic system, with your limbic brain, so that you can be able to, build more arousal. So also I know that the wrong essential oils which are not organic can create endocrine disruption, meaning they can lead to hormonal imbalances. So I'm so careful picking the best essential oils, because one, they are therapeutic, they are aromatic, and also they work on my arousal. Sensuality, or the capacity to be sensual, is also the capacity to connect with my food, to be able to be mindful about the food that I eat. So it's not about the color. It's not about, ordering for KFC, sorry to use that, but it's not about also going to a fancy restaurant. It's knowing that the food that I'm eating is creating feel-good experiences on the inside. Because it's one thing to say I've gone to a hotel and then I'm eating what somebody else has ordered or what's available. For me, it's always about, how is this food making me feel? So what am I eating in the morning that is giving me energy, good energy? So is what you're eating depleting you in 2 hours? Some of you wake up and all you first do is take coffee. Coffee is going to give you a false high, only to deplete you in the afternoon. So in the afternoon, it's going to make you have hunger for sugar foods, and you're not able to connect the two. So I say I need to be able to take something that gives me the right energy. And I have loved adaptogens in the morning, ashwagandha especially. It gives me the right energy. It allows me to wake up. I used to call myself a night owl, but because of ashwagandha, I'm able to wake up at 5 a.m. with good energy, and I'm able to read and I'm able to meditate without feeling like sleeping again, So I will think of an elixir. An elixir for us is a drink that awakens you up on the inside, as opposed to a drink that gives you a false energy high, only to deplete you in 2 hours. Then I'll think of something, either something I add to my breakfast or to my smoothies, that helps to wake my brain up, so it can be able to give the right signals to the different glands in my body to produce the hormones that I need to support me through the rest of the day. Some of us wake up with very low cortisol in the morning, and that is not a good thing, so we don't wake up hungry. We need to be able to understand the different hormones we need for the different parts of the day, because most of us don't understand that there's different hormones. We don't have one hormone taking us through. They are produced different times. So if I understand that insulin levels drop at 3 p.m., why am I eating sugar foods in the evening? I need to be able to know that I need to eat foods that don't require a lot of work, because my insulin, which is supposed to turn food into energy, stops being produced at about 3 p.m. So I also connect with foods based on how I want to feel. Most of us eat foods that inflame us. You force yourself to take milk because you come from a culture that drinks milk. But surely when you take this milk, you must also take medicine with it. Or you take this milk and you are going to just be passing gas the whole time. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's discomfort. You will take milk, or you will eat gluten, or you will eat carbs, and you feel like you have a lot of acidity. And most people have gotten used to that feeling, that it seems normal to them. I used to be like that. I come from a culture that, that drinks milk and treasures milk. But honestly, I used to hate the milk. I would find that I don't even like Blueband on my bread. I didn't like bread. Later when I learned about my blood group, I just realized that I used to eat foods that inflame me, as opposed to eating foods that excite me. So foods like lactose, or rather foods that have lactose, gluten, high starchy foods like corn, like rice, they really used to cause me a lot of acidity. I used to have peptic ulcers, and I used to be uncomfortable in high school and at uni, only to find out it was just the foods. Now I only add foods that give me pleasure, and I add them to my breakfast. So I spend the rest of the day feeling good, and I also have body urgency. Even if I visit you, I'll just tell you, no, that will give me discomfort. So what's the point of taking or eating anything that will make me uncomfortable? Yet I've come to be around you to feel pleasure and to feel good connecting with you. If you give me any food that makes me bloat or feel gassy, I'll want to go home. But if you want me to really co-regulate with you and connect with you, you need to give me not food that looks good, but food that makes me feel good, right? So we also need to be able to understand that food is part of the sensual experience. What you eat, what you drink, and what you don't eat, what you don't drink, right? The other thing that you can do to tap into, your arousal, to build your arousal mechanism, is to de-armor your body. If your body is running on stress hormones, or you have your body, your body has some numbing somewhere, you're not able to experience arousal, you're not able to experience vaginal orgasms or clitoral orgasms or multiple orgasms, try vaginal steaming. Try vaginal de-armoring, or try using a jade egg, Kegels with jade egg, or try doing different exercises. I talk to women about building pelvic floor strength, so that there's more blood flow to the pelvic area, and that blood flow will just ultimately increase arousal there. So exercise your vagina internally. You can use breath work. I teach that on my Desire series. We start our Desire series with vaginal strengthening breathwork, and then we talk about vaginal de-armoring. So you can go into vaginal steaming, and mostly also learn that if you have any hormonal imbalances, let's say you have fibroids, you have PCOS, you have endometriosis, vaginal steaming helps to increase arousal in the vagina if you have those conditions, because those conditions cause a lot of numbing. The sensations, the negative sensations that you've experienced because of those conditions just make you disconnect with your womb and your vagina. But if you learn to nurture and nourish that part and make love to that part and touch that part, it helps you. Also, the last thing that you need to be able to do is to really touch your body. We have been taught that touching yourself is a sin. And honestly, that's wrong, because if you don't touch your body, one, there's going to be some touch hunger. In my culture, there's what we call labia elongation. And I will say, in as much as I don't support FGM, I don't support the too much elongation, but the concept of teaching a woman to touch her labia, because those are hidden parts. They don't get enough touch. Then they don't even touch the panty for some women. They don't get enough touch. So the concept of elongation is basically to put oil in your fingers and learn to elongate, to touch those parts after your periods. It's something that I was taught. I do 3 days after my periods. If you can steam, so we would do vaginal steaming, and then we get oil, especially ghee. We would use ghee with lavender essential oil, and then you touch the labia minora, and basically you're just pulling them, stimulating them. But I would say that you would pull them and you feel arousal, and you'd have more sustained arousal because you touch them. Touch stimulates, and then touch regulates. If I can touch my ears, if you can touch me through a massage, if I can go for Ayurvedic massages, those are different forms of touch. And now we're encouraging more touch to build arousal in women's bodies. Play. Go for kizomba. Kizomba is contact touch. I remember in Africa, kizomba in Angola was a dance that these communities that had been war-torn or separated from each other just came together to dance kizomba, so that they can be able to feel each other, come in community again, and regulate through dance. So kizomba was more of a communal dance before it was made a partner dance, and pretty much you can see that people had gotten touch hunger because war had sort of like separated them too much, and they had a lot of anxiety, depression, because without touch we will experience more depression and anxiety, mostly in our bodies. But touch reduces anxiety because it regulates the body. Right? So anyway you touch yourself, whether you touch your vagina after vaginal steaming and you do a vajacial and reconnect with the vagina and your womb, it is that you're actually increasing arousal throughout the rest of the body. So expand that touch from being able to touch your forehead, to touch your scalp, come down into touching your boobs, and then massaging them, and touching your tummy, touching your thighs. Many of us would feel guilty doing that. But when we did that, we got to experience different sensations, and our brain got to say that is pleasurable. And so I'm able to call in the kind of sensations that I want. So go into play with yourself, touch yourself, but also join us and learn more on how you can build your sense of arousal. You are the orchestrator of your arousal. Stop expecting men to be the masters of your body. Let them find when you already have built pleasure in yourself through sensuality, which is a daily activity or process, through the way you eat, the food that you eat, the herbs that you take. So you become an easy person to be around. But when you've not done anything for yourself, it's just too much work. And also when you're dating, you sort of like keep on chasing off or throwing off people as if they're not good. Kumbe. Problem could be your problem. So those are some of the things that you can try to work on this year to be able to own your pleasure. Now, I'm organizing a retreat. This retreat is mostly to teach women, African women, how to be able to get embodied. Embodied is to get into their bodies and heal their bodies from feminine shame, from the effects of the mother wound, heal their bodies, reduce or rather disintegrate the shame, the guilt that has accumulated in their bodies. And we do this in 5 days, So I'm organizing a retreat. It's going to be in Lamu in July from the 7th to the 13th. And the goal is to be able to revive the goddess in you, the goddess that feels from inside and expresses on the outside. It's to be able to build embodied womanhood. I want to build a woman who is embodied, who is in touch with her body, who has body agency, who has agency over her desires, her arousal, her needs. And I know it's not easy for us to just talk about, and that's why I have created, or rather designed, this retreat. We've been doing this over the last 2 years, and this is going to be the last 3 years. It's going to be our 4th one. And I pick Lamu because the Lamu Island has so many healers, body workers, people that are able to heal you on an energetic level, spiritual level, physical level. So we engage with different practitioners to be able to help your body integrate the pain so that you have space to build pleasure, to build joy, and have more regulation, so that your nervous system can be, easy to sit with pleasure, to receive pleasure, and allow you to sit with so much more pleasure. I hope you can be able to plan to join me by the 31st of March. You need to have sent us 50% of the payment. I'm going to share in this podcast the flyer so you can be able to see it, but also you can follow me on Instagram. Our handle is Wellness Together. On Instagram, we are Wellness Together, but also in the description, we are going to put our website, our Instagram, so you can be able to come and read more about this retreat. Join us wherever you are. If you're in South Africa, whether you're in Ivory Coast, whether in the US, in the UK, you can join me. You can plan. This is the summer retreat. You can plan to join us. So payments, 50% of the payment is expected by the 31st of March. And then 100% of the payment is expected by the end of June, so we can be able to have an easy, beautiful retreat. Retreat details, I laid out. I'll be telling you so much more about the retreat details, but the retreat is really my goal to support women in owning their pleasure. Support women to be able to also support the different facets that are helping us with our sexual wellness, to be able to understand how to support women experience more pleasure, experience and thrive more, so that the diseases that we are struggling with can reduce. The fibroids, the endometriosis, the PCOS, our body shapes are changing. Most of those ones are tied down to sexual shame, to the capacity for us to be able to receive or to distract from pleasure. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you can subscribe. I hope you can join the different programs. I hope you can plan to join us at the retreat. And I hope you can engage in the comment section. This is Heal with Doreen.